So I need to update you on the Fascist Clown Show that is the Trump administration. There is some new information regarding the federal funding freeze that happened yesterday. As you will recall, it was a huge mess. There was a memo issued announcing that there would be a freeze on federal funds which had been appropriated by Congress, going to various programs that are administered through the states, such as Medicaid. It was going to affect a lot of people, a lot of programs. It was a mess. Washington exploded. It immediately went to court, and a federal judge issued an injunction stopping the freeze, meaning that the money was supposed to continue flowing to these programs. It was a temporary injunction until this whole thing was resolved in the courts. Now, fast forward to earlier today, the White House, because of this firestorm that ensued because of all this, issued a one-line statement saying that the memo that was at the heart of all of this has been rescinded. And so people thought, okay, great, issue solved, Trump backed down, this is no longer going to be an issue that we have to worry about. Well, just in the last hour here, there was a tweet posted by Trump's half-wit press secretary, a woman by the name of Caroline Leavitt. Forgive me if I'm saying her name wrong. Actually, I don't really need forgiveness. I don't care if I'm saying her name wrong. I believe it's Caroline Leavitt. If you haven't heard this woman yet, she's a gem. This woman, to call her a half-wit, I think is being overly generous. This woman is Lauren Boebert level stupid. Anyway, take a look at this tweet she posted about the one-line statement saying that the memo had been rescinded. Here's what she writes. This is not, in caps, not a rescission of the federal funding freeze. It is simply a rescission of the OMB memo. Why? To end any confusion created by the court's injunction. The president's executive order on federal funding remain in full force and effect and will be rigorously implemented. Now, she says this is to end any confusion created by the court's injunction, but of course this does exactly the opposite. It only adds to the confusion because it doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. So if the memo announcing the funding freeze has been rescinded, then, as she says, the president's executive order on federal funding remain in full force and effect. The president's executive order is just a bunch of generalized nonsense. The specifics came from this memo. It wasn't the president's executive order that led to the federal funds being blocked from going to the states. It was the memo. So, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But let's go to her first line there. This is not a rescission of the federal funding freeze. All right, so if that statement saying that the memo was rescinded, and it was the memo that was the reason for the funding freeze, but now she says this is not a rescission of the funding freeze. Okay, look, I'm not exactly sure what this dimwit means by this. No one else is sure at the moment. I'll tell you what I think it very well could mean. When they went to court yesterday to block this funding freeze and get the injunction, they based their request for immediate injunctive relief on the memo. That was the basis upon which the court issued the injunction. They said, okay, this memo, we're blocking implementation of this memo, implementation of the freeze that this memo called for. By rescinding the memo, and this woman saying this is not a rescission of the funding freeze, what that tells me is this is a way maybe that they are just trying to get around the court's injunction and to re-implement the funding freeze. Because if the memo was the basis of the injunction and was the basis of the lawsuits that would be filed, now if the memo is rescinded, there is no longer a reason for the injunction, right? Court granted the injunction blocking the memo. The memo has been rescinded. So does that mean that the injunction is lifted and now there's nothing in place preventing Trump from blocking these funds with some other order? I don't know. But these people are, as I said, it's a fascist clown show. These people are fascists. They are authoritarians. But there is the clown show aspect of this because all of them, to a person, are grossly incompetent. And so you get all of this. You get all this. So we don't know what the hell is going on right now. But last I checked, this is where we are. The memo that was the basis of the injunction rescinded. But idiot press secretary says it's not a rescission of the federal funding freeze. And the president's executive order remains in full force and effect, yet the president's executive order didn't specifically say anything about this funding freeze. So where exactly we are, I don't know. But this is the chaotic environment in which we will now live for as long as this orange wannabe dictator is in office. I will update you on this when there's more information, but this is where we are now. Last I checked, money is still flowing. The Medicaid portal can be accessed, but who the hell knows by the time I stop recording what the nature of play will be. This is what happens when you elect a fascist criminal and his incompetent band of lunatics and put them all in charge of government, and you put his cult in charge of Congress. This is what you get. So, good job, America. You're really living up to our long history of constitutional democracy. You're doing the generations that came before us very proud, because this is what so many people throughout our history fought and died for. This is the culmination of all the struggles of all the great Americans that came before us, so that you, in your infinite wisdom, could put this half-witted band of lunatics in charge of government. Good job. Good moron.